only wants you to make good beer. And have fun hanging out with your friends. Here's Dono. Today on the program we are MacGyvering the heck out of a beer. What I have in this bucket is some of the smoked malt that Chip had on hand from 1 or more years ago, and I'll do a survey here in a sec. And he's just trying to clear up some space, understandably. What a lot of these little bags are is 1 pound of crushed mesquite smoked malt. So there's 3 there. There's 3 more here. So that's 6 pounds of that. Then he has some of this other, actually I would have to look it up, this Skagit Valley smoked stuff. What do we got here? Oak smoked. This, I think, is the same as in those Northern Brewer bags. I believe that would be Breese that they would have carried. And then this, it says Skagit Maple, but then also it's in this Northern Brewer bag, but he had a label on it that also says Skagit Valley Maple. So I've got basically, what, about 5 pounds of Skagit Valley Maple, 7-ish pounds of mesquite, and then 1 pound of this. So that's around 13 pounds, I believe, of smoked malt. So I may or may not use all of it. I might reserve a couple pounds in case I want to do a smoked Helles. And the other thing that you'll note is it's a lot of it, most of it is already crushed. So what I did, and this video is already up, is I did a test on the mesquite and then some of the Skagit Valley maple smoked, and I did a mini mash and a stovetop thing, and I actually was getting sugar out of it because I just wanted to make sure it wasn't going to be a total bust as far as getting sugar. The other thing is I have North Star pills, and I don't know if I have 8 pounds left, but I think what I'm going to do is come up with an amount of like 14-ish pounds total, maybe 2 pounds of the pills to just have some newer malt in there for enzyme activity if need be. The other thing is I have some washed yeast. Both of them are Imperial Flagship. Now I've got 4 jars of this robust porter. They each have that much. The other thing is I did the same thing, but I combined all the jars. This is an older one. I might just use this amount, which is like a ton of yeast. I'm gonna make a starter anyway, just because that would be best practice, and especially if I use the older yeast, just to make sure that it's gonna be active and coming alive. And then I have 1 ounce of low alpha acid hops, I think like Tettnang or something, just for a little bit of bittering. But basically it's gonna be moderate to mid-high smoke level. We'll see. The other thing is some of the smoke character will have dissipated from the malt, but it still should be enough to make it, you know, fairly smoky. And the wort that I made the other day did taste good. So I'm gonna weigh out what I think I want. I'm gonna take some notes so I know what I used and get this mash going. I thought I would do a check-in here. It's the morning after I did the mash, and I am currently getting the wort transferred out to the garage. That's what it looks like with the grain bill I'll go over. So it didn't do anything to make it more of a blackish Rauch beer, but it should be pretty smoky. I'm gonna boil some on 2 pots on the stove. That's 1 pot, but I gotta get it moved out to the garage. I did the mash yesterday, had it covered with a bunch of blankets overnight, and this is what I landed on for the grain bill. I had 4 pounds of the Skagit maple smoked, 1 pound of oak smoked, then I used 6 of those mesquite smoked bags. So that is 11 pounds of smoked malt. I did 2 pounds of North Star Pills, and I just threw in a pound of rice and 14 pounds, and currently I have about 7.1 gallons of 14 bricks. So that should get me 14 is about 1056 right now, so after it evaporates off, should be in the 1060s, mid 1060s hopefully, which is pretty good for 14 pounds of old crushed malt. This is the 1 ounce of hops I have, and I did make a yeast starter out of all of the older flagship washed yeast, and that is looking fine, I hope. I don't know why that wouldn't work. So yeah, now I gotta get the boil going, add the hops, and get all that stuff taken care of. Alright, we're wrapping up the brew day. I'm pretty excited to announce that I got my cheater glasses out, and it's about 1068 is what I'm gonna call it. And it's about 60 degrees, so I mean that is quite an exceptional result for malt that was crushed however long ago. Not all of it was previously crushed, but at least half, more than half probably. I think only the 4 pounds of the maple Skagit one was maybe not crushed, but at any rate, this is going to be, I mean, this yeast starter is going to be pretty crazy because it was the entire amount of yeast that I washed, and I think I did a little demo in some video that these 4 jars right here, they're brown because it's the porter, robust porter wash yeast, but you can see how much yeast I get in each of these jars. That's, you know, relatively clean yeast. And so what I did is I had all of this in 1 jar, and that's what I made the starter from. So unless I did something horribly wrong, this baby will ferment out quick. Pretty impressed with the gravity. The taste of the wort is reasonable enough. It's not overly smoky. We'll see how it comes out once it's done fermenting, but I'll get her in my closet. I'll probably use a couple ice jugs. Won't have to do it as much as in the summertime, but hopefully this thing will be, should be fermenting within hours. I can't really figure out these better bottle lids and situation because half the time I don't get a tight seal, and then today it's bubbling. It's been about 5 or 6 hours is all it's been since I pitched the yeast. I don't have a big kreuzen, but it's definitely going, and I'm not surprised because of all of the yeast that went into it. So yeah, there should be a kreuzen soon, and I've got a couple of ice jugs. I just have to watch the temperature, and that should be good. So it's the next morning. I thought I would take a look. Last night I did see some foam on the top, and once again, no bubbling. But it was bubbling yesterday, so I just never can understand it. Alright, but it is fermenting, so that is as expected. I'm going to take my temperature gun here. 64. Let's do another hit over here. Alright, so that's pretty good. It doesn't have to be any cooler. I might swap out one jug, and then that'll probably maintain it around there. And then what I normally do is, as this will ramp up still, I'm sure, and get to be higher, and then once it starts going down, then I just let it warm up to the ambient room temperature to just fully finish. So this is a little interesting. I took it out of the tub with the ice jugs because it was in the low 60s, and I thought it doesn't need to be that low, and I figured it could rise up a little bit, and so now I do have bubbling. Go figure. I mean, I think it's almost just if you turn the thing and get it slightly situated in a different way that maybe it will do a tight seal. Anyway, I'm okay with this temperature. 68 I think is about what it looks like. If it was much higher, I would do an ice jug or so. But look at this Kreuzen. It is Saturday today, and I brewed this, I don't know, Tuesday morning, I think. Yeah, that sounds right. So it hasn't been this high until today. It's not quite up to the top. So I think, and this has got to be the peak activity, but yeah, she's chugging away. Here, look at the thing like you're, there you go, that'll work. Alright, alright. I'll just go back in here.
Thumbnail.
In the shot. What's up, everybody? We are going to evaluate what happened, what came as a result of this beer. You've seen all of the smoked malt. You've seen the grain bill. You've heard me talk about how some of this malt was previously crushed.
Mm-hmm.
And by best guess, it was, I said like at least a year. I mean, that's correct, isn't it? I mean, it's November. I made it in October of 2024, and the youth thing goes back to summer.
I looked up the email with Mark when he sent it, and I believe I sent that to you. It's at least, I think it's like 3 years old.
No.
Oh, wait, sorry. I've had it for 3 years. It's been crushed for a year, yes. But But
I thought those packets, when you got them, they would have been crushed.
Mm-mm. He sent me a bunch of 1-pounders.
Oh, when did they get crushed? You crushed them?
Last September 23, right.
Oh, so the malt is even older.
Yes, for sure.
Oh, that is another kind of...
I thought you knew that, and that's why it was impressive all the more when you were like, I got sugar out of this.
I want it.
Well.
Yeah, welcome to Sass Talk.
Yeah, welcome to Taft Talk.
Okay. So, you saw my... Well, I can link it, but I did an experiment of the sugar converting possibilities, and it worked. And this OG was $10.68 for 14 pounds. I would have expected really no more of a gravity out of fresh malt that was not 3 years old and that was not crushed a year ago. So basically, my takeaway on this, not like a pure experiment, was that I didn't lose really any extract at all from the malt having been crushed a year ago. So that, I think, and I have seen other people reference that type of performance too, so I just want to put that out there, that if you have a kit that you ordered and it's been sitting around and the malt was crushed 6 months ago, you know what, go ahead and brew it up, probably be okay. So this got down to 1.009. It was kegged on October 17th. It is November 16th, so it's been kegged for 1 month. It's gotten clear-ish. I probably didn't do gelatin. It was Imperial Flagship. I would say that's moderately clear.
Yeah.
It has a little color, so it's not light, super light in color, but I would say that's pretty clear. Cheers.
Well, to your point about getting the sugar out of it, like, you got flavor. There's nothing that this malt being X amount old or crushed, like, compromised.
We don't know that, but
it's a powerful
there is flavor.
No,
we got some flavor. Now, did we get as much flavor? That we don't know. That was a point I was going to make. This was not a beer that I needed it to reach a certain level of anything,
Right.
to flavor, a lot of flavor, a little flavor. It didn't matter. It was going to be whatever it was going to be. And I was going to hopefully enjoy it. And I would say I do enjoy it.
It's like, I like that it's 3 kinds of smoke too, and that makes it this like really layered. There's like a sweetness from maybe the maple. There's the mesquite we were talking about beforehand, can be a very divisive flavor, even in the,
Right.
the smoked food world. And then you got that oak, which is the oak smoked wheat. Or oak.
No, it was only 1 pound of that. So that's a
But it's the oak
small.
smoked wheat?
Yeah, no, just barley.
Okay.
But there's 4 pounds of the maple. Now, to your point, I don't know. I feel like I'm mostly tasting the mesquite, which I've never used, and I was curious. I was gonna say that I like this beer more now than I did a few weeks ago, or when it was first kegged. It was a little bit stronger and a little bit edgy with the smoke character. But I think it's gotten soft. I don't know if softer. I don't know if you remember what it was like, or if you had any of that take. But like, I remember thinking, oh, this is okay. But this, remember, I was thinking I was saying like medicinal. It had like an edge to it, a sharpness that I was attributing to the mesquite character that I had not gotten out of all the other smoke beers I've made. But that has mellowed out, and I think it's a pretty enjoyable drink.
Yeah, but it's still present. It lingers on the palate. Like, it has a very smoky aftertaste, but also a little sweet, probably from malt and maybe that alcohol.
Yeah.
But I told you the first time we had tasted it, reminded me of one of Brian Adams' pig outs. I had brewed what I called like a smoked blonde, and it was the mesquite. And I remember it, I like can feel that flavor memory from whatever portion. I mean, that's a big portion of this grist is that mesquite. So
Almost 50%.
it's interesting.
I
like it. Honestly.
I didn't do the alcohol tabulation, but it's probably about 7 if it's 1068 to 1009.
For sure.
About this malt, there wasn't a lot I could find written, but it kept finding the same kind of thing: earthy, but less sweet than the Breeze cherry wood. Surprisingly smooth, which it is now, but
Right.
like earlier it was not kind of smooth. It was a little bit harsh. But then one person was commenting, like you were talking about, that in barbecuing, mesquite malt can somehow be a real potent flavor in get that in the meat that you're barbecuing. Now I don't do that type of cooking, so
Versus
I
like
don't
hickory
really
or
know.
post oak or something like that.
Or apple, or I don't know what people
cherry.
cook over. But you know, like, would I go out of my way to buy this malt when the next time I want to make a smoked beer? So I was wondering if I like the flavor of the mesquite smoked malt in a smoked beer. At first, I kind of was so-so on it, especially when it was stronger and sharper. But I mean, there's something that I think different about it. I don't have a vocabulary to describe the flavors of.
That's
you know,
hard.
you say it's smoky, it's a little burnt, it's a little ashy, but that doesn't mean anything. Like,
the guy from Live Oak described a lot as like fruity, some even floral. So like, I also learned a lot through talking with him about their portfolio, and is like kind of like mind blown with some of the descriptors he used. I was just like, but he and I both were like, smoke is one of the more elusive flavors I think in beer, both because you don't get it that often, and it is hard to.
Elusive because it's just not as common, you mean?
Both that, and when you do get it, it's hard to kind of explain.
Right. People
Everybody
know
wants
what
to
a
say
smoke
campfire, but
flavor
it's
is.
not all campfire.
I was going to say, one thing I was maybe going to mention earlier is I brought it to a club meeting, and most of the reaction was positive, and it was also mostly saying like it's a medium level of smoke. I thought some people would say it was medium high or high. You know, like, I've had smokier beers than this, and this isn't even 100% smoked malt, which I've made beers with that. But I do think I think that's fair. I think it's medium, maybe a little bit over medium. I mean, people that don't like smoked beers, they're not going to like this, because it is smoky. People that don't like smoked beers maybe can drink my smoked Helles, because that's light on the smoke flavor. It's just a little bit in there. I don't know, maybe I would think about doing like 80% Waterman Malt, 10%, you know, mesquite, to just give it a little complexity. and like layer the smoke flavors and give it a little extra. I do think it's probably stronger in flavor and intensity than the Wireman Rock Malt.
True, but not as much as I think the Breeze Cherrywood. Is that the one that's really bold?
That one is said to be stronger. I've used that some. I've liked it. I've not had a problem with it. The peat smoke is.
It ain't nothing like some of the stuff we've had out of Norway, though. The homemade stuff that we've got.
Right.
Where you're just
yeah.
like, what?
The smokiest beers I've ever made have been with home smoked malt that has been given to me, and that I've used as a portion of the overall. You know, the guy gives me like 4 pounds, and I use it, and I add in Wireman Rock Malt, and like. Yeah, that's a smoke monster. That's a lost beer for you right there. But yeah, this was not only was it a complete MacGyver beer to take this wash yeast, 3 ounce of hops,
Does the malt work?
that Chip had. I also put in a little bit of pills and a pound of rice. Yeah, does it convert?
Yeah,
like, you know, it was just fun to just have it turn out, and everyone that's had it has liked it, and you know, I'm happy with
it's
it.
a good time of year too, because like it drinks kind of like a little bonfire on a day like this, where like it's raining yellow leaves.
Yeah.
As we are at the tail end of.
Yeah, I tried to
autumn.
put the camera. I don't know if you can see. I got some on the leaves. There's a bunch on the ground. I mean, I could do a quick panorama as we're wrapping up, but
Go grab some.
and we had a campfire 1 week ago.
Well, I would say quick shout out to Mark at F.H. Steinbart who hooked this smoked malt up
Okay.
a long time ago for an experiment that never ended up taking shape on Chop and Brew. So thanks to Don for giving it some life. Thanks to Mark.
As always.
Skagit Valley Malt.
Alright, there's the scene. I've done some raking, but as you can see, I need to do some more. And thanks for watching, and we'll catch you later.